let's say there like you have one talent which can occupy two occupations, and for both you can answer why 5 times.
Ask more whys.
So you get like to the absolute why.
One of them will fall off eventually. One of those two things that you can ask for why a bunch of times and still have a reason for, one of them will fall off eventually. One of them will probably fall off, not because you can't come up with a reason, because it doesn't feel, you don't feel it as deeply anymore. You felt it very deeply with the first 5 whys. The second 5, it might fall off around 8. So one set of 5 is 5. Another set of 5 is 10. So you asked it the first 5 times and it was strong, it was solid. You asked it 3 more times, wasn't quite hitting the same way. Whereas the other thing was still very important. But now the question becomes, why is that thing important? There were very few things in my life that I wanted to do more than I wanted to do music. The only thing that I wanted to do in my life more than wanting to do music was to graduate college, because I wanted my family to see that we can do something other than be entertainers and be successful at it. After going to a private institution, studying engineering, graduating with honors, etc., I had completed that task. Another limiting belief was I wasn't going to live past 25. And because I had that belief, what I realized after I graduated college was I did not really have a plan for my life after graduating college. So this concept of being a rapper was like a fantasy. I got really good at rap in the process though, because I've been rapping since I was 9 years old. Graduated college at 22. By that time I was pretty good, but I didn't have any plan as to how I was going to get there. So there was no infrastructure to support me being a rapper. Then I thought about why I wanted to be a rapper. What was it that I was actually trying to accomplish in doing it? Really, it was the same thing I was trying to accomplish with going to school, just doing it in a different way. How ironic for me to go to school and say, this is proof that you cannot be an entertainer and still be successful just to be interested in being an entertainer at the end. And had I been successful at being an entertainer, I would have been talking about not being an entertainer. What was the goal? The goal was to say, you are the star, independent of how people respond to you. You are the diamond. You are the jewel. Shine. Don't be so focused on the struggle and looking at all of these different opportunities that are all rooted in lack to feel better about yourself. Because you can do the same things, if not better, than the people that you're idolizing, that don't have to sweat, that don't have to jump in front of people and try to entertain them, try to make them laugh, try to impress them in any shape, form, or fashion in order to actually reap the same benefit as them. You can be someone of real value, hence why I studied engineering, not because I wanted to be a rapper. So there were a lot of conflicting ideas, but ultimately I wanted to be a rapper the most. Why? Because I wanted significance. Why? Because I wanted love. I thought that if I became significant enough to people, then I would get the love from the people. But what was I talking about? Trauma. I love Mary J. Blige. I remember being young thinking, man, I hope one day she really gets her life together. Then I seen her perform and I was like, she is phenomenal on stage. I was at the Essence Fest and I saw her perform and I was thinking, wow, this took me back to my childhood. This is amazing. And I was thinking, these are songs that I heard 20 years ago, but the pain from those records that she sang 20 years ago is still very much relevant in her life today. Why is that? I believe at the time she was going through a divorce and there were some financial issues that she was going through. I said, why is that? But then I thought, I'm in the crowd. I'm thinking, why would she not be going through this? If most of your career, at least the part that people love, is all rooted in trauma, and you spend so many nights on stage singing these songs, we're in an arena, 40,000 people, all singing, I'm going down. So where's your life gonna go? Down. It's not gonna go up. That's the energy that you're receiving, because that's the energy you put out. I'm going down. That could have easily been me on stage, talking about the hood. But in my mind, I want my life to go up. But if I'm looking at what I'm talking about, it's all rooted in lack. Yeah, I'm saying you can do great. Yeah, you can change. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you can do that. But I'm saying you can do that as someone who comes from this struggle. I'm not saying you can do that as someone who comes from that and we're just abundant creatures and we should stay in this space of abundance. I'm saying that to people who see themselves as lacking. I'm speaking in a way where I'm trying to convince people to stop thinking from a perspective of lack, because that's the hood. But inside, I knew I'm not going to pursue this industry. So I wanted to be a rapper as an art. Right? I wanted to be someone who resembled respect for the craft. I did not want to be someone who supported the industry, though. And that's the reason why I never created the infrastructure for it. I wanted to be someone who was a great lyricist, someone who created songs that I thought were amazing. But did I ever really want to be on the stage rapping? No. And that's why I didn't do it.
I remember Jay-Z said once that every night or like so often, being on stage, having 40,000 people screaming your name is not really good for your psyche. Like that does something to you.
Perhaps.
I never thought about it that way, but when he said it, I mean, he must know. He lives that.
If you got 40,000 people who are all screaming your name, what is one person going to tell you? If every night I'm selling out in the ring, I may meet one person that's really telling me something profound, that's really telling me something that's could be very fruitful for my life. But what are the chances of me actually listening to that person? What is the chance of me listening to a person telling me that I should possibly look at this thing, pivot so I can course correct, when I have 40,000 people screaming my name every night, telling me that the person I am right now is amazing? You can lose your place. And what I mean by losing your place, I mean, because you have 40,000 people screaming your name and your mother may not, somehow you think that the hierarchy has flipped. You think that you are the head of the family instead of your mother being the head of the family and your father being the head of the family. You think that now it's you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You're the most important person around. You lose sight of what's real because you now live in a bubble. And in that bubble, everybody loves you, but very few people actually know you. Essentially, my original point was, to get back to your question, I had multiple things that I wanted to do in my life as well. I wanted to run a business. One, I wanted to live beyond 25. Thankfully, I managed to do that. Now it's, you're going to live now. Now you're going to have a long life. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be a rapper? No. What are you going to do? I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I knew I wasn't going to be a rapper. Didn't mean I wasn't going to rap. It meant I wasn't going to do a profession. And so here we are. Eventually, the whys that I was asking myself in reference to rap fell off because it wasn't about, aside from the craft, it wasn't real. It was me chasing significance. And in pursuit of that significance, thinking that it would lend itself well to love, eventually what it would do is stifle me. I understood that because much of what I was talking about was rooted in struggle. So I would attract more struggle. Whereas a life of entrepreneurship, again, I didn't know what that meant. Right? I didn't know what that was going to be, but I knew it was going to be rooted in abundance. It wasn't going to be me talking about where I was from, et cetera, and talking to people who were from where I'm from to hopefully inspire them to do something else. It was going to be me hopefully speaking to the world, everyone who cared to look at the example and say, thank you, I can do that too. Subconsciously. Because now I'm not going for that. I'm not going for the prestige or whatever, the significance. I'm not going for that. I understand that's something that comes along with it. And that's the beauty. When you're doing something that's honest, when you're doing something that's true, when you're doing something that's truly rooted in abundance, you improve your chances of actually being successful. And one of the things that come along with success is prestige. So you don't have to chase it.